Deception detection of false confessions. In recent years, there has been an increasing amount of interest regarding why people falsely confess during trials and interrogations. Is it due to duress, intoxication, mental impairment, the actual infliction of harm? All factors that pose leading questions that contribute to false confessions. Most of the time, a person's perception on a trial interrogation can be motive of deception. Truthful confessions will be seen as honest. However, so will false confessions. The National Science Foundation does a good job at summing up the findings the researchers concluded through their studies on why people falsely confess.
I want to talk about why innocent people confess to crimes they did not commit. I can't think of a psychologically more profound question. If I were to ask the average person, would you ever confess to a crime you did not commit? Everybody would say no. Why would an innocent person confess? Really, there are a couple of different reasons. First of all, sometimes the question is answerable really by looking at who it is we're talking about. There are people who are weak and vulnerable to manipulation. Put them in an interrogation, they have very little tolerance for stress. They don't fully understand the consequences of giving a confession. So children, adolescents, people with mental health issues, people with low IQs, people who are in a state of shock at the time that they're being interrogated. These people are likely to give a confession because, you know what? Everybody has a breaking point, and they found theirs. And so they give a confession not fully appreciating what's going to happen next.
Which leads us into the studies at hand. The following two studies have preconceptions and perceptions to show how hard it may be to detect a false confession. Their preliminary hypotheses were that it would be quite difficult for the participants to detect the deception of a false confession. Both studies used a middle-aged group of participants, recorded mostly to be female. Lastly, both articles used the same dependent and independent variables to conduct their study, though they used different methodologies in order to manipulate the variables. The researchers utilized a true or false confession, which was the independent variable, to determine its influence on the individual's perception of truth-based and detection accuracy, which was the dependent variable. Levine et al. Used 27 interviewed confessions about cheating in a trivia game. The participants were brought into a media room, watched all the confessions, then were asked to answer the questions, if they thought the person in the video was honest about cheating. The authors hypothesized that confessions would be more likely to be judged as honest than denials, as well as the detection accuracy for true confessions would be above 54%, false confessions would be below 54%, and the true and false denials would be somewhere in these margins. All the data represented was consistent with the hypotheses. Confessions were highly believed, while denials were believed just over half the time, which contrasts with the true and false denials, as the accuracy rates were very similar. Hans et al. Used transcriptions from juvenile confessions. Each participant was given 4 true and 4 false confessions to read over, then asked 2 questions after being read the articles. The questions were as followed. Did you find the confession to be true or false? And to rate their personal confidence with their decision on a 7-point scale. Results showed that the participants' judgment of a true or false confession was accurate less than 50% of the time. Participants were more confident when deciding a confession was false. However, results showed they were more confident when evaluating themselves of detecting a true confession. The participants were not accurately able to differentiate true and false confessions, providing that deception detection is no more than a game of chance. The obvious difference in the delivery of the confession, although in comparison both articles' results were consistent and quite similar, both with the initial hypotheses and each other's findings. Both researchers concluded that their participants struggled to identify the false confessions and were very confident about their decisions. The articles provided a rationale for false confessions and detection deception, and both articles' hypotheses concluded that they are similar on a basis of the inability and lack of confidence when being asked to determine if it is true or false confession. In conclusion, it is quite difficult to detect deception, and under the proper circumstances, wrongful or false confessions are left little to the individual's control for justice and mostly to chance. The results, in turn, affect our confidence in the findings, as they significantly prove their hypotheses. But it truly makes a person wonder, as an after fact, if you believe yourself to be so confident with a decision, but then are proven wrong, how much harm truly does come from false confessions, thus leading future researchers and lawmakers to be able to justify not only how they attain the confessions, but as well ways in which we can better perceive falsified confessions.